Hello YouTube viewers, welcome back to my channel. 3 tips here. What we have here, this is my waste treatment bucket. I keep this bucket full of iron, pieces of scrap iron, and what we do is we siphon off our copper solution into this bucket, and the copper will cement out on those pieces of iron. The copper in this waste treatment bucket is heavily contaminated with other metals, and once I cement the copper out of the solution onto the pieces of iron, I just end up throwing the copper away. For me, it's not worth the time and effort to try to recover this copper and reuse it. Over here, I have some copper that I bought from Craigslist. These rolls of copper down here were $40, and so this will last me for a couple, 3-4 months. Copper is plentiful, it's cheap, and there's no good reason for a precious metals refiner to try to recover the copper from the waste treatment bucket. These are my 2 stock pot containers. This is the one I have currently in use. This one is the one we'll be using for the refining for this video. It's full of black mud, and we're going to be refining this mud to get the precious metals out of it in this video. Let me get the one we're going to be doing in this video out of the way, and I'm going to show you how I use this one to capture traces of precious metals from the refining waste that I generate. I've got a tube full of water. What I'm going to do is siphon the copper solution that's in this stock pot down into my waste treatment bucket. And this copper solution that I'm siphoning off will react with the pieces of angle iron down here in the bucket, and the copper will come out of the solution, the iron will go into solution, and then I can treat that waste solution full of iron for disposal. Here's what's in the bottom of my current stock pot. This has been in service about 3 months, I guess. I took the other one out of service in July sometime. So this has been accumulating precious metals for 3 months. You've seen me pour off my gold refining waste into these temporary waste containers. And then what I do is when I empty out my stock pot into my waste treatment bucket, then I go ahead and empty these temporary containers into my stock pot to cement out any traces of precious metals that might be remaining in this liquid. Now we'll take this outside and let it bubble with an aquarium bubbler. This is copper nitrate from my silver refining. This bucket's full of pieces of copper, and when I get done cementing silver, I add it to this bucket, this white one, this blue solution. And I'm going to add some of this now to the waste treatment bucket. All the precious metals has been removed from this blue liquid. The copper in this solution will react with the iron. The copper will cement out of the solution. The iron will go into solution. And then all I have left in this bucket is a bunch of copper and iron in solution. I'm going to move this outside too. I'll put a cover on it to make sure, keep the rain off. I'm going to begin by filtering out the solids from the stock pot. Capture everything in a piece of filter paper here. Folding a fluted filter paper. Fold it in half. Then fold it in half again. And then we fold it back like a paper airplane. Both sides. Do that again. Don't have to get it real accurate, just now we open it up, fold it in on the crease there, and now we've got a perfectly fluted filter paper. Alright, I've got some acid here, hydrochloric acid. I'm gonna dampen the filter paper with a little acid so it sticks down in there. Now what we're going to do is pour the contents, the solids of our stock pot down through this filter and capture as much of the solid material as we can. I already did this off camera, but I'm gonna do a quick status test here to verify that we don't have any precious metals in that solution. You can see it just turns green. I don't want to use water here because I'm not sure how water will react with the sludge in here. So I'm rinsing it out with hydrochloric acid. I finally got most of it rinsed out of the bottom. See if we can get it down into the funnel now. I've got all the liquid filtered off of the solids. Here's what our solids look like in the filter. I'm going to transfer it carefully now into this fused silica melt dish. If we can get it down in here. There we go. Boom. Alright, I reviewed the video of the last time I did my stock pot. And when I incinerated the material, it filled my shop full of smoke. So I've got my oven outdoors. I'm going to take this outdoors and incinerate this outdoors. Someone had asked for a peek in the silver cell. So here's a look down in here. Got some beautiful long silver crystals growing in there today. As you can see, it's putting out a decent amount of smoke here. So that's why we moved it outdoors. We'll just let this continue to incinerate until it burns completely and no more smoke is coming off of there. Okay, I wasn't paying attention. I left the stuff in there too long. It has become molten, and I'm not quite exactly sure what to do. So what I'm going to do is add some pieces of silver to it. 50 grams of sterling silver, and just melt that into a puddle, and then let that act as a collector, and then we'll get it out of there after it melts. All right, let's look in here and see what we got. We went completely off the rails here. I've got it molten now. I'm going to pull this out and see if we can get this melted up into some kind of button and salvage this refining. Here's the metal that I recovered. This piece here formed like a cap that was sitting on top of this other piece. The two pieces did not alloy together in the melt dish under the acetylene torch. And I peeled these off of the inside of the melt dish. I'm going to start small here. Just kind of tear off. Oh, that's brittle. That might not even be metal. Now I'm completely baffled. This is metal. I'm going to try to break off a little piece here if I can. And we'll take this little piece. I'm going to start small here before we go all in. I'm going to add it to a 250 milliliter beaker. I'm going to cover it with some distilled water here. I don't even know what I've got here, so I'm kind of experimenting. I'm going to add some nitric acid in here with this now. And we'll put it up on some heat. And let's see how this is going to react here. It's been on boiling now for about 5 or 10 minutes. Reach down in here and get a little bit on a filter paper. Now we're going to test this with stannous chloride. Definitely got precious metals in solution. I see green, so that's telling me we've got some palladium in there. I'm going to add a dose of water here. I'm going to add some concentrated nitric acid. And if we can get that chunk to go into solution completely, then that would be a blessing in disguise. All right, this is our solid chunk of metal right here. All these other little pieces are like, I can break them. I'm going to take a small piece, put it in a beaker by itself, add some water. I'm going to put this up on the heat and see how it's going to react with some nitric acid. What I'm going to do is add some nitric acid to this piece that we just put up. Let him heat up and see what he's going to do in the nitric. Take our test samples down and let these cool off. We'll take a look and see what we've got in solution and go from there. We'll draw a little bit of liquid up into a pipette. Put in this test tube. Adding some drops of hydrochloric acid. If there's any silver in here, we should see a precipitate form like that. It means we got silver in this solution. Now let's get a little of this solution into a test tube. I'm going to add some hydrochloric acid, see if we got any silver in here. And it does look like we're forming a precipitate. Yep, we got a ton of silver that we're going to have to deal with because I added the silver to the metal in there as a collector. This brittle material is what I have in this beaker. Dissolved a little bit of it with nitric acid. Then I drew up a sample and put some in this test tube, added some hydrochloric acid. There is a little bit of silver chloride in there, but not much. What I'm going to do now is reach down in here and get a little bit of this solution on a piece of filter paper. We're going to test and see if we got any other precious metals other than silver in here. And as you can see by that test, there's no precious metals in this sample. And I'm going to conclude that there's only going to be some silver in this brittle material. And I'm not going to pursue this stuff in this video. This is the little puck of precious metals. And I broke a piece off right there and dissolved a little in this beaker. We drew a sample and tested, and we've got some silver chloride in here, but now I'm going to do a stannous test on this liquid. And if you look here, I've already done this off camera. There's definitely some precious metals in this metal. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on getting the metal from this. We're going to exclude this brittle stuff. I think it's just silver and copper here. This is going to have some copper, silver, platinum, and probably some palladium in it. So this will be what we focus on for the rest of the series. And this will conclude part 1 of the Stockpot 3 refining series. Thanks for watching.